Hi, I'm Charlize and today I'm going to be doing my top 13 books of 2013. So this list of books are my favourite books that I have read this year, not books that have come out this year, but books that I have actually read this year, and I'm going to go from number 13 up to number 1, and they are in order. Some people just made them all equal, but mine are actually in order, and it was pretty tricky for me to order the ones near the top, and it was kind of hard for me to actually find 13 books, but because I feel like I haven't read enough books this year, but I did manage to do it, and I think all the books on this list definitely deserve to be on my list. So this is going to be a pretty long video, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to tell you a little bit about each book. So number 13 on my list is Paper Towns by John Green. I read this month in December, and I really like this book. If you don't know anything about it, it basically is about a road trip, and it's about a girl called Margot who goes missing, and her friend Quentin, also known as Q, goes on a road trip with some friends to find her, and she leaves little clues, and Margot is really weird, and I really love this book. I loved the road trip aspect of it. I didn't as much enjoy the characters, but I loved everything else about this book. Number 12 on this list is one book that I read ages ago, like way in the beginning of the year, and that is Warm Bodies by Isaac Marion. This book, if you don't know, I did a review on it, but it's a really bad review, but you can click the cover if you want to go to that review. This book is basically about a zombie called R, and it's on a planet where everyone has been turned into zombies. Most people are zombies, and they don't have emotions, but then R meets a girl and he starts to feel something, and that's basically where our plot takes off. I can't really remember too much about it, but it is a really wonderful story. Number 11 on my list is a book that I finished like half an hour ago, and it's the reason why this video is a bit late, and that is Wonder by R.J. Palacio. This book follows a 10-year-old boy who has to go to school for the first time, and he's been homeschooled his whole life because he has been born with an abnormality with his facial features. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about what's actually happened to his face, because you don't actually find out about that until about like 50 to 80 pages into the book. But this book, I think this book should be read and taught in primary schools because it's that age group. It's a middle grade book, I think, and it just teaches kindness, and the book is a bit bittersweet the whole way through, but then the ending is really happy, and the ending is really what made it onto my list. So number 10 is Sapphire Blue by Kirsten Gear. This is the second book in the Ruby Red trilogy, and I picked this one over Ruby Red because I liked it slightly better. I'm not sure why. I think the characters just progressed a bit more. There was one character that I really loved, and it was the gargoyle. If you guys have read this, the gargoyle, I don't know how to say his names because it starts with an X, but I really love this book. If you don't know anything about it, it is a time-traveling series, and I'll explain the first book. There's a time-traveling gene which runs down the female line of the main character's family, and it is predicted that Gwen, the main character is Gwen, it is predicted that Gwen's sister was going to get the gene, and you find out if you get the gene when you're 16 because you start randomly jumping backwards and forwards in time, and it was predicted that her cousin Charlotte would get this gene, but then Gwyneth starts jumping backwards and forwards in time, and then madness ensues. So number 9 on my list is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, and you guys might be wondering why this isn't higher up on my list. It's basically not higher up on my list because I think it was slightly overhyped, and I was expecting it to be sadder than it was, but I really did enjoy this book. It was my second John Green book. This first was An Abundance of Catherines, and I really loved the characters in this book, and I just think it was well written, and I never got bored of it, so that is why it made it onto this list. Number 8 on my list is Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins, and yes, I did read this for the first time this year. It was one of the first books I read this year. It might have actually been the very first one. I I'm a bit iffy with the Hunger Games trilogy. I enjoy them, but I'm not obsessed with them. I think I gave the first book a 4 out of 5 stars. This one has been my favourite so far. I haven't yet read Mockingjay, but I basically just watched them as the movies come out. Like, I read Hunger Games like 2 months after the movie came out. That's when I read that, and then I read Catching Fire, and I really enjoyed it. I read it in like 3 days. I loved it so much. Number 7 on my list is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I started reading the Harry Potter series for the first time this year, and this one so far has been my favourite, closely followed by the first book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer or Philosopher's Stone. I really enjoyed this one. I'm not sure why. I think it's just because, like, the actual plot behind this one was a bit more intriguing than that of the first 2 books. The first 2 books more introduces the story to me, and then this was more action-packed, and I really enjoyed this. Although it did take me a while to get through, I'm not sure why. I did really enjoy this and really want to read the rest of the series. Don't worry, I'm gonna read the rest. Shh. Number 6 on my list is Divergent by Veronica Roth. This is the first book in the Divergent trilogy. You guys probably know all about this series. I read this back in March and I loved it so much. I read it twice this year and I loved it so much each time around. I think I actually liked it better the second time, but this is my favourite in the trilogy and I really love this. And if you guys have not yet read this, I think you should, even if you just read the first one and not the second and third. Even though they are still really good books, I think that this one is the best one. Now we're getting to the top 5 in my list. These were the ones that were really hard for me to place. Really hard. 3 of them are by the same author. You guys know what author that is. But anyway, number 5 on this list is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I read this in November, I think. No, I read it this month. Started it in November. I loved this book so much. It is just so descriptive, and like every time I read this I felt like I was in the world and it was just amazing. I have a review on it, so you can click the cover to go to that review. It is an amazing book. I can't really explain what it's about. I'm just going to read you the back because it's really complicated and like it's such a complex story and it's amazing, but I'm going to read you the back. It is: the circus arrives without warning, no announcements precede it, it is simply there when yesterday it was not. So it just follows this circus and all sorts of weird things happen in this circus, and there's a game that's involved with these 2 characters and it's really mysterious and suspenseful and it's just amazing. Watch my review if you want to know a bit more about it. I think I explained it a bit better in that review. And number 4 on this list is More Than This by Patrick Ness. I didn't know if I should put this, the book in 3rd place. You'll see, but More Than This, I can't explain this to you either, but basically I'm just going to tell you that a boy called Seth drowns and he dies, and then he wakes up, and the whole book is basically a whole mystery about where the hell he's woken up, and it's so like, the whole book you don't know what's going on, and even at the end you're like, you don't know what happened, and that's basically the point of it. I really like how that's done, how you don't know what's going on, and that's kind of the point. And I just loved it so much. I know I can see how people would not like it. Like, out of Patrick Ness's books, I can see how this would be one that's kind of like mixed reviews, but I really loved it, and it's like you need to know what happens and you're like but yes, More Than This by Patrick Ness. And the top 3, number 3 on this list is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This is the one that I wasn't sure if I should put More Than This in 3rd place or if I should put A Monster Calls, and I decided to put A Monster Calls just because I just think the story is really unique. I don't know, they would tie if I could have it my way, but I tried to not have any ties, and I'm currently rereading this just like occasionally, just when I feel like some Patrick Ness. The book is basically about a boy called Connor, and he wakes up at the same time every night. I think it's like 12 something. I thought it's just after midnight, like 12:03 or something, and he wakes up every night and he's not sure if he's having a nightmare or if it's actually happening, and this monster comes every night, and this is not a monster that you expect it to be, and this monster basically has some stories to tell, and you find out a lot about the character of Connor's mum, and it has illustrations as well, if you haven't heard. But the illustrations are amazing. I'll show you some of them. There's this one. That's the monster there, and Connor. And this book is just beautiful, and the illustrations actually help the story a lot, and I just love this book so much. Number 2 on the list, I have lent out to a friend, and it is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. this is going to be in a lot of people's lists. I loved this book so much. It's not action-packed and it's not like that type of book. It's just, everyone needs to read this book. It's kind of hard to explain to you what it's about because it is about a girl who steals books, but it's a lot more than that. It's set in Nazi Germany, and it's a girl called Liesel, and she is German. She's not on the Jewish side, and this is what I found really interesting. A lot of Holocaust books are actually told from the Jewish point of view, but this book kind of explores the German point of view, and it shows that not all the German people were bad, and there were a lot of good people, and it just explores like humanity, and I love this book so much. Now, number 1 on this list, you guys probably know what it is, or at least the author / series, but do you hear that? That's him speaking. That's him speaking. Number 1, drum roll. No, I can't do this, okay. Drum roll. It is Monsters of Men by Patrick Ness. Yeah, I don't really need to say much, but I have a review on the trilogy, so you can click the cover to go to that. It's really long, but you can just watch the first few minutes if you haven't read any of the books yet, and it's spoiler free the first few minutes, and I'll warn you when there's spoilers in the video. But this book, this is the best conclusion to a series I've ever read. Like, the ending, I cried multiple times. Even in the novella that comes after this, Snowscape, I cried. This is just so good. I don't actually know what to say, but look how big it is, right? And I didn't get bored. Not once. Like, there are times in this book where I literally gasped and I was like, oh my gosh, and you don't expect it, and it's so unexpected, and it's not predictable, and oh, this book. This is definitely my favourite book of the year. Definitely. My favourite author, favourite trilogy, favourite book of 2013. So those are my top 13 books of 2013. I really want to know what your favourite books were of the year. If you guys made favourites videos, you should link them in the comments, or you guys can tell me your top 3 or your top 13 or whatever you want. I just want to know, what was your favourite book of the year? Did you have a favourite? Can you actually choose a favourite, like, or do you have like a tie between like 50 books? Because I can definitely choose my favourite. Monsters of Men. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in 2014. Also, this wall is going because we're redoing my room and painting, and I have to take this down. And I don't know if I'm going to put it back up because we're changing everything, and I don't know if I'm putting it back up, so say goodbye to the wall and to me. I'll see you all in 2014. Oh, actually I need this. I'll see you guys in 2014. Patrick Ness says bye.